Vintage Sound 93.1 FM, Tony Tone. My next guest is a legend, and I can't believe he took time to call in this morning on the Mocklink Celebrity Hotline. Ian Anderson with Jethro, Tull, talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but mainly the new album with the Carducci Quartet, Jethro, Tull, the string quartets. A little sample of what that sounds like is here. Ian Anderson, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, Tony. How are you today?
I am doing well. I've been really enjoying the string quartets record, and I was wondering, when you discovered the Carducci Quartet, you said that it was an unlikely contact that brought them to you. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because it seems like, from what I've heard thus far, which is the majority of the album, you worked together extremely well. So I wonder who brought you to them, or what was that story?
Well, funnily enough, just about half an hour ago, I was traveling with him, the unlikely contact, in a van, because he's the van driver who takes us to the airports when we go off on tour, and he was doing a little trip with me this morning to go and visit my friend Stephen Wilson, who's just completing the 5.1 surround mixes of the Heavy Horses album, reissue, reedition, collector's version, blah, blah, blah. And so he has a brother who is the principal violinist in the Carducci Quartet, and happened to mention their name. So I looked them up and found that they were playing a concert in London the next day, and rushed off to see them, and was very impressed by their performance and their playing, and chatted to them, and they were, able to fit into their schedule 3 days that it took to record the album. And but they're busy boys and girls, as are we. So it was only ever envisaged that this would really be a recording project. The idea of taking it on tour would be logistically and time-wise a little difficult for both of us.
So when you work with John O'Hara on the arranging and orchestrating everything, obviously you're close to the source material, closer than anybody. So is it something for you, Ian, that you're able to hear what somebody's idea is and how they want to take a direction of a song? Because I know it's important to probably maintain some of the identity of each of the songs that appear, but what type of collaboration did you and John have together?
Well, you've always got to take it song by song. I don't think you can have a kind of a production methodology and apply it to everything. So every song requires a different approach, and in some cases there would be chunks of music which really were just all him and very little input from me. Other times it was following closely the original arrangements of at least two or three pieces. Mm-hmm. And on other occasions, I suppose most of the tracks, it would be John putting forward his ideas, and we would be sitting in a hotel lobby or a bedroom or a dressing room backstage and listening to things and chatting through and saying, well, okay, maybe I should play that line, and the first violin should play that line. And it's just about toing and froing and trying to recognize people's contributions, as has been the case right through the period of working with the 32 other musicians who've been Jethro Tull over the last 49 and a half years. So I think you've always got to be trying to allow them to have their input, and as long as that input is, looking like it will fit in with the master plan, then that's good for morale to try and include their worthy efforts. But of course, there are times when maybe it's not the right thing, and then I have to find, if I can, the diplomatic way to say this isn't quite what I had in mind. A bit like a Playboy bunny being invited into Hugh Hefner's boudoir.
Very appropriate timing.
Just to throw a little note of topicality.
Right. When you recorded the string quartets and you were in the different church locations, that has to add something to the sound, right? I mean, you're getting these different sounds back. So is that something that you certainly you've done it in the past, but do you have to keep that in mind as you're beginning that process when you're in these different rooms that have different sounds, or do you look to that to sort of add to the essence of the overall record?
Really, I'm trying to look for a sound that isn't going to impose itself too much on the music, and that's difficult in churches and in cathedrals, extremely difficult because of the very long reverberation time. So I wasn't really doing it in those venues because of the audio quality so much as the spiritual quality and what I hope would add something to the performance of the musicians. And that was really the part that I felt might make a difference, is to have people in a very special place. You know, if it's a 1,000-year-old cathedral, then there's something that permeates the atmosphere, that goes beyond the here and now and the practical realities of making a record. Is something, you know, that I hope will instill itself into the people and the way they play, both in a manner which is respectful to the traditions of Christian musical liturgy, but also just makes you kind of feel a little, hey, you know, this is a special day. Whereas the sterility of a modern recording studio is something that adds absolutely nothing at all, and it may be a neutral environment in terms of the audio quality, but it's of no inspiration and no value whatsoever in the emotional or the psychological or the spiritual context.
Ian, you said of the string quartets that it would be perfect to play at a birthday or a funeral or any type of celebration, and I wonder, you know, you mentioned funeral. I was at a funeral last week, and they played a song before things started, and it's incredible the power that music can have. So I wonder, for you, someone that's made music for a number of years, understanding that impact that some of your songs can and have made for people, and then personally, are there songs that you can hear that trigger things in your life?
Well, the answer is yes to everything, really. I mean, music is, for different people in slightly different ways, it will be something that marks an occasion, whether it's a memory, a bit of nostalgia, or something that is very poignant, like a wedding or a funeral. And I think that's perhaps not only the power of music, but what makes music very specific for each individual. And I don't think any two people can claim to listen to a piece of music and get the same result from it, or look at a piece of fine art and get the same response. I mean, you can make comparisons, but I think we all have our very different ways of reacting to the world of art and culture, and that's the mystery of it all. You know, I don't really know how people react to my music. I know how I react to it as a performer, and as a record producer and a composer and general factotum. You know, I hear the music sometimes in a way that maybe is not so different to the audience, but I can't be sure of that, because I think people will hear things in a different way. I was listening today to some mixes from the Heavy Horses album back in 1978, and you know, in some ways I'm listening with a very analytical mind, the same mind that was at work when I was recording and mixing those albums all that time ago. But another part of me is listening just to be entertained by somebody else's work in terms of remixing. And I'd like to think I can perhaps see it from both sides. But I'll never know for sure, because, you know, we never know how somebody else hears what we hear, if they get a different experience, or they are the musical equivalent of being colorblind or tone deaf. Perhaps what they get from it is something really rather simpler and, you know, without the detail that perhaps the more experienced ear will receive and analyze. So we have to be careful not to cast judgments and not to make undue comparison. But I like to think I have an inkling, a little notion of how other people, how fans might hear the music.
Absolutely. Well, they're going to take you because we're running out of time, but I just want to say the String Quartet's album is available everywhere. It's wonderful, and you guys have a very busy end of 2017 and an extremely busy 2018 with the 50th anniversary at JethroTull.com. All the details. Ian Anderson, it's been a pleasure, sir. Sir, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day, okay?
Well, thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you. Bye-bye.
Care.